Ellis Beefeaster's Radio Aircheck and Classic TV channel.
A text comes in here. Are any gas stations that are open in Orleans Parish, Jefferson areas? Probably not, because there's no power. And unless the station would have a generator, that wouldn't be happening. I do remember as a kid, after Betsy, because my daddy had a service station, somehow the guy across the street at an Exxon station rigged up, I think he was running a lawnmower or something, or an edger, or somehow he got the pump to work, but that was then and this is now, and it's different. Anyway, somebody said the cost to stay away is prohibitive. It's easy to say, if you're a DJ, to express relaxed and living away and evacuated. Look, I understand all of that. This is not opinion. These are the facts. Lafourche Parish has been devastated. You can't go home. I'm sorry, it's a harsh reality, but you're going to have to accept that. We'll be back.
Coverage of Ida on 870 AM WWL New Orleans, 105.3 WWL-FM and HD1 Kenner New Orleans, WLMG and WLMG HD1 New Orleans, WKBU and WKBU HD1 New Orleans, and WEZB and WEZB HD1 New Orleans. Audacy stations.
WWL First News. It's 7 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Dave Cohen on your official weather station, WWL.
For your Monday, you can plan for more breezy conditions as Ida lifts away, but we're still going to feel some impacts from it. Not going to be a nice day, but not as bad as last night or yesterday. We got a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm lifting to the north. As we go through the day, breezy conditions, some feeder bands moving through with heavy rainfall, and the tides, they're going to stay high. And it may not be until about Wednesday that our tides return back to normal.
Your local weather expert, WWL TV meteorologist Peyton Malone, has more coming up. Today is the day we find out just how big a blow Ida dealt to southeast Louisiana. Crews will be fanning out now that the system has moved into Mississippi, and they'll try to get a good idea of the scope of damage. Search and rescue can also ramp up dramatically today. We know droves of people called for help during the height of the storm, but those calls had to go unanswered because leaders said it was not safe to send out first responders from the coast all the way to the North Shore and many communities in between.
Hurricane Ida made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane near Port Fourchon, and now it's a tropical storm in southwestern Mississippi, but it left a path of destruction across southeast Louisiana. State climatologist Barry Keim says it wasn't until the center of Ida reached Mississippi that it lost its hurricane status.
It's a very slow-moving storm, so as the storm is moving on shore, and even after part of the eye wall has crossed shore to signify landfall, a significant chunk of that storm is still over water, still able to feed off of that incredibly warm water source.
Once the sun comes up, water rescues will take place. There are reports of hundreds of people stranded in lower Jefferson Parish. In St. Charles Parish, families are in their attic to get away from floodwaters in Laplace. There are reports of roofs torn off of Ochsner hospitals in Houma and Raceland. Patients there will have to be evacuated to other facilities.
That's WWL's Jeff Palermo. Flooding in St. John and Livingston Parish was a big problem overnight, and Tangipahoa Parish saw surging water too. WWL's Tom Perumian tells us officials there today are going to try to assess.
Tangipahoa Parish President Robbie Miller spoke with WWL about the need for first responders to move into action.
There's no doubt our first responders want to get out to help you. Let them get out. Let them start going, evaluate. Let our public works folks get out to start clearing roads. So just take care of your space at your home. We're going to get there as quick as we can. We have some folks that are trapped in houses, like in bathrooms, and I don't know what their situation is now. We need to get to them to make sure that they're as safe as they can be.
Miller was pleased that residents were continuing to shelter in place and that roads were without sightseers.
St. Tammany Parish President Mike Cooper says another priority today is getting all the debris off of all of the roads so people can get out.
We want to be able to open up the roadways so our first responders and our utility contractors could be the first ones out. Getting to the jobs that they need to do.
Cooper says they are dealing also with reports of flooding near the lake, along with damage to homes, downed trees, loss of electricity, and more across the parish, just like so many other parishes. St. Tammany is dealing with a nearly 100% power outage. 100% of the power is out in Orleans Parish and 97% in Jefferson, roughly those same numbers in other parishes. One of the big reasons the New Orleans metro area doesn't have electricity is that a massive tower that brought 8 feeder lines into the area fell into the Mississippi River last night. The hardest hit areas are likely to be Grand Isle, Lower Jefferson, and Lower Lafourche, ground zero for Ida's landfall. How hard a hit did they take? We don't know yet, but Captain Brennan Mathern with the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office says, do not come try to see for yourself yet.
Certainly we understand people want to come home and see what their house looks like, and we understand that. Look, I'm one of them. I want to get to mine and see what it looks like, so we understand that. But we are going to be here until you get here. But to your point, Tommy, it's not going to be today. And until we get out and assess the damage on our roadways, we really can't even have an estimate of when people can get back. What we can tell you is wherever you are right now, if you've evacuated, I can promise you it's a million times better than coming back here. We're going to get you back as soon as we possibly can. But for now, just sit tight, relax, and enjoy some air conditioning, because when you get back, there'll be none of that.
Governor John Bell Edwards will be heading to survey the situation today, and with federal emergency management officials, start working on a plan for a recovery. Jefferson Parish has announced a curfew for today. President Cynthia Lee Shang says no one can be out from now until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Most other parishes are announcing or have announced similar curfews.
Now, your Garcia Roofing forecast on WWL.
The latest on Ida is it continues to strengthen.
Along with maybe Ida's lifting to the north. We'll be dealing with higher than normal tides. That includes surge, along with maybe some storms around today with those bands wrapping up into the center as it lifts away from us. But impacts are still going to be felt today, and it's going to take some time for the tides to return back to normal. So water's still pretty high today with North Shore Lake and river flooding expected. That'll continue into Tuesday, and then by Wednesday, we'll be back to normal. Now, during all this, it is going to be hot and humid in the upper 80s and low 90s. It'll feel like the 100s. And then by the end of the week, we're drier, still in the 90s, but not as much rain. From your local weather expert forecast center, I'm WWL TV meteorologist Peyton Malone.
Still have some gusty winds out there. At the airport in Kenner right now, they're gusting to 28 miles an hour, and it's going to be a hot day. It's overcast and 81 already in Kenner.
For your Monday, you can plan for more breezy conditions.
WWL News Time, 7:06. Here's WWL traffic.
From the Acadian Windows and Siding WWL Traffic Center, I'm Joshua Dausch. You shouldn't be driving out there right now. I-10 going west into Kenner, completely not passable at Williams. That means you cannot take the Interstate West across the spillway to LaPlace. Causeway Bridge is also closed. I-10 traveling east, you've also got multiple closures due to downed trees and power lines blocking the road. Traveling between the West Bank and downtown, traffic is passing at the Crescent City connection, though again advised to stay home and stay off the roads. Also, the Chalmette and Algiers ferries both broke loose yesterday and ran aground. For WWL, I'm Joshua Dausch.
Thank you, Joshua. I'm Dave Cohen. Now back to Tommy Tucker on WWL.
Hi, Dave.
On WWL-AM-FM.com and the Audacy app, Louisiana's official emergency management station. It's continuing coverage of Ida. Live from our Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union studios. Also on Magic 101.9, Bayou 95.7, and B97. Connect now on the Oakland Heart Jewelers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870. Now, back to Team WWL.
I'm Tommy Tucker, and this Monday morning, August 30th, Dave Cohen, our news director, with us as well. That 504-260-1870 would be a great idea in normal times. Unfortunately, the phones are out and they are not
normal times.
Working. No, I tried to call a couple of parish officials that I know on their cell phones. The call would not go through. We are at this stage, and I'm reminded of Aaron Broussard, who infamously said we went from the Jetsons to the Flintstones, trying to, if we can get some parish officials on the cell phone, we'll put it on speaker and hold it up to the microphone and do the best we can just to get some information on the air and for people. In terms of refrigerator, I went to the CDC website because I'm getting some texts on this about food safety for power outages, and I guess we can pretty well skip the before part, right?
Yeah, no, we're in the after.
We're about that next time. During, keep refrigerator and freezer doors closed. If the doors stay closed, food will stay safe for up to 4 hours in a refrigerator, 48 hours in a full freezer, 24 hours in a half-full freezer. And it says if the power's been out for 4 hours in a cooler, that's the CDC now, if the power's been out for 4 hours and the cooler and ice are available, put refrigerated perishable foods in the cooler, keep them at 40 degrees or below, add ice or cold source like frozen gel packs, and then after, never taste food to determine if it's safe to eat. When in doubt, throw it out.
Never. Does this taste bad to you?
Yeah, well, people have done it. I think this milk sour. Do you think this milk sour tasted and see? Well, no, thank you. I won't.
If you have to ask.
Throw out perishable food in your refrigerator. Meat, fish, cut fruits and vegetables, eggs, milk, leftovers after 4 hours without power or a cold source like dry ice. Throw out any food with an unusual odor, color, or texture. And if it's in the freezer, don't open that door unless you positively have to.
I recommend this. You get a plan. Know exactly what's in the refrigerator that you really want to save. Know where think it out. And then quickly open the refrigerator, open the freezer, put everything you want to really save in the freezer from the fridge, close it, and don't open the freezer again.
And even that'll
give you 2 days of stuff in the freezer.
It would be a short-term solution if you're there and you want to cook it and you need it to eat it, right? Because if you're trying to preserve it for the future, I hate to tell you this,
I'm just saying for 2 days.
No, I understand that. I fully realize that, and it's a great idea. I'm just saying, if the idea is that you want to save this for Christmas or something, no.
Forget about it.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but that window is closed because these transmission lines, and we went through this last night, Newell and I and Dave and all of us were talking about it when it happened. Joe Valiente said he had video. Did you ever see video of this, Dave?
No, he said he had before and after pictures. He said they had a picture right before and then a picture right after. And he said you could see it crumbling in the last picture, is what I understood him to say.
So you got...
but no, I have not seen those pictures. We've asked him for them, and I'm not sure what obviously it's not a priority for them right now to be
you can understand that.
sending us pictures.
So you got a salvage operation that's going to have to happen in the river to get the lines out. I don't know if the lines are sunken on the surface of the water. I don't know. Nobody knows at this point. They're still trying to figure it out. The tower is collapsed. Do you know, or do we have any idea if it caused any problems down the line, as in you do something wrong in your house, and there's a gross oversimplification.
No,
but you damage the outlet, and then you go back and you hurt the breaker, and then from there maybe you hurt something else. You see what I'm saying?
In fact, what Entergy explained last night was that when the tower fell and the 8-feeder lines went down, it created what they called an imbalance in the power system. And they had to stop making electricity as a result at the plant. They had to shut it off at the source.
So it's like almost the ultimate short circuit, maybe, something along those lines?
I think that's really what it is. And for whatever reason, and I'm not going to pretend to understand all the intricacies of the power grid, but I do know that Entergy told us that because this tower fell into the river and 8 transmission lines went down, they had to shut it off at the source. So they're not even, at least they weren't in the immediate aftermath. I don't know the status now, a little over 12 hours later, if they're actually producing any electricity right now or not. But Entergy is at a point now where they have to reevaluate the entire grid in southeast Louisiana, and you should not expect power anytime soon.
We can see things around the CBD right now. I did not have a chance to really do anything other than look out of the window, and that just gives me a narrow view of Magazine and some streets and some trees, small trees that are implanted in the sidewalk. What did you see, Dave, in terms of trees as you were driving around this morning?
It was at 1 o'clock in the morning, and what I saw was trees down, at least one on almost every street I traveled, at least. A lot of branches, some big limbs, but just a lot of trees down, particularly in Jefferson Parish. Real problems with trees down everywhere, and some massive trees that were laying down. Not as many as I saw after Katrina, but a whole lot of trees down.
So, in terms of fences, I'm guessing you saw a lot of those down,
a lot of
wooden
trees
fences?
on fences, yeah. A lot of wooden fences laying on the ground. A lot of them, the distance that some of these things flew was amazing to me. I mean, we saw things that clearly did not belong where they were, whether they were trampolines or tables or chairs, some children's swimming pools, pieces of fencing, a lot of flashing from people's houses and siding, just stuff just strewn everywhere. Awnings, lots of awnings.
Text comes in, I'm in Kenner. I'm glad I didn't have leave because I'm able to put tarps on my roof early this morning. Shingles came off as well as vent covers, so if I was not at home, I couldn't cover those. And once it rained again, water would just come in. First of all, not everybody, I'm glad you were able to do that. Not everybody is able to climb on a roof and install a tarp. I'm glad you were able to. But Dave, that brings me to another point about, and whoever texted this in at 6079 in Kenner, I'm glad you're happy, but relentless would be the only word I could describe this storm as opposed to Katrina. Katrina was bad, but this was just relentless.
Yeah, I have now gone through probably a dozen hurricanes, and that's a rough estimate, but I never have experienced one that was so intense for so long.
Relentless.
Felt like relentless is the perfect word. Like it was never going to end, and it didn't let up for really 14 hours of just relentless blowing wind, sideways rain, and howling. That noise, that will haunt me the rest of my life. The sound of Ida.
And the thought that I had, and I'm going to play some audio or later if I can, of just the noise our building was making. It sounds like the HMS Bounty, right before things went bad for Captain Bligh. But it was our building. It was the 400 Poydras Tower, which is how many floors of it?
32.
And it sounds like... It either sounds like some kind of old whaling ship or grandma sitting in a rocking chair, and that's a big building. So in terms of staying, the only question I had is why in the world, and I understand this person is happy because they can keep any rain from damaging their floor anymore, but why in the world would anybody stay for this if they could leave? Having, again, written out a bunch of them like you because that's our job. But the relentlessness of this one, I can't imagine what it would be like in a home because we were in this big office building that sounded like the rocking chair, and why somebody would stay home for this, I don't understand it. I really don't.
Without electricity, in the dark. No,
toilets? You don't have toilets. You can't. Well, I mean, you're supposed to conserve water in Orleans Parish, right? In terms of flushing a toilet, and
Correct.
In Jefferson Parish, you got no water pressure, at least at your home.
No, the East Bank of Jefferson Parish, the entire East Bank is under that boil water advisory because of that low pressure, if you have water at all. And, we actually started this conversation earlier, and to finish it, in Orleans Parish, they don't have working lift stations now for the sewerage. So they're asking you not to unnecessarily put anything in the drain. So don't wash clothes, don't wash dishes. But, again, you could only do that if you had a generator now that 100% of the city is without power. But they're just asking that the less you put down the drains, the better, because if you put too much down the drains, it's coming back into your home.
Let's put it this way. Don't load the truck until you know somebody's going to be able to drive it away, because eventually it's going to overflow. Would that be a delicate way of putting it, Dave?
Yeah, and I know this is probably cliche, but
you can go ahead and say it. It's all right.
Yeah, but I think it is worth noting that a flush is better than a full house.
Yeah.
So You don't want to get to a position where...
It's not what I thought you were going to say, but I love that. A flush is better than a full house. No, a full house better than a... I'm confused now.
It's better to be able to flush than to have a house full of what you're trying to flush. So the point is... And if you play poker, you know it's better to have a flush than a full house. The point is, if you wash your clothes, if you take long showers, if you, for whatever reason, put water down the drain that doesn't need to be there, and the lift station cannot pump that water away from your house, at some point the pumps between your drains and that lift station will be to capacity. And everything in them will come back into your house.
Text comes in, no water pressure in Covington on North Shore. Thanks for sharing that. We're going to try to talk to Joe Valiente in a couple of minutes if we can get the cell phone thing working here. One other, what's that? Oh, Dave's got to go. All right, thank you, Dave. There is a curfew in Jefferson Parish that is in effect right now until 6 a.m. tomorrow, so it's like a 24-hour curfew that went in effect. They do not want you on the road. They do not want you driving around. We all want to. I desperately want to see what the situation is at my house, but you can't do it. You got to understand that this is a Category 4, maybe Category 3 storm that went through the area. The bright spot is that the levees, as far as we know, held that levee system that we spent so much on after Katrina. I can only imagine what if we had the Katrina levee system, what would have happened here. If you can text us as the light is coming up here and you can see around your neighborhood what's going on, especially these big oak trees that are in this little sliver of ground between the tree and the sidewalk. What happens is it seems as though the taller trees, the pines, they tend to snap, and the hardwoods like the oaks and the pecans tend to snap too. But the really big pecans, they'll just come out of the ground. And somebody texted in last night, or I think we were talking to him, and they said it was like their mother was standing on the ground, and it looked like this movie with John Franco, where the end of the world. This is the end, because it looked like the ground was moving beneath her and opening up, and what happened is the tree was getting ready to just take the land up with it, and giant pecan trees will do that as well. And unfortunately, just like they tell you to call that number before you dig, well, the trees don't call the number before they dig, 811, and they rip up everything that's in there underneath it, and that's why it's also gonna take a while to get all of that restored. In terms of gas, and I'd like to hear from y'all as well if you're in a situation, if you have gas service to your home, or if that's been interrupted or not. I'm not quite sure how that works with the transmission of gas. If there's a broken line, if that means that's it for everybody, like a water main or whatever, but I'd like to know. And the public officials are out driving around. You don't need to be. I know you want to be, but all you're going to do is hinder the effort. If you can text us with what you're seeing, that would be great, because our phones are out. Just about everybody's phones are out in Lafourche Parish. If you need to call 911, there's no point in that, because the service has been reduced to 2 cell phones. And naturally, they are asking you to use these numbers only if it is an emergency. And those numbers are 985-772-4810. or 985-772-4820. So 985-772-4810 or 4820. It's going to be a while until things get back to normal. And I'm getting some text here from people who for whatever reason, think this is a funny situation, or are texting from other areas and saying that God punished us and this kind of thing. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time to do it on this, because we got bigger fish to fry than this. But the main thing I think you need to remember is that karma's a bitch. Right? So before you're going to be just some kind of idiot texting the stuff in, keep that in mind. 504-260-1870. That's the WWL talk and text number. The phones are not working, but you can get a text in. Somebody texted in about the airport. Do you think I'll be able to make a flight on Wednesday? I don't think that's going to be available. I can't imagine in any way, shape, or form that the airport's going to be open. And one other thing we didn't really get to, because it might seem inconsequential at this point, but it is serious, and that is that we have a Saints season that's supposed to start, and if there's no power, I can't imagine that game being played in the Dome. And the Saints are in Dallas, of course. I'm just thinking of all the different things that are scheduled that are going to change, and then, of course, there's also the specter of COVID that is hanging out there, and Lord only knows what's going to happen with that. There's a text here that says Uptown Carrollton Avenue Palm Tree down across in front of Camellia Grill, Leak Avenue down power pole across blocking. I need somewhere with power for my breathing machine to sleep at night. Stopped working once the power went out last night. Joe Valiente joins us now, and we're going to try to do this as high-tech as we can in a low-tech manner with Joe on a speakerphone, and we're holding the phone up to the microphone, so let's see how it works. Joe, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you acceptably. Yes, we're good. Tell me what the situation is in Jefferson Parish so far, at least what you've been able to determine now that we have a little bit of daylight out.
Okay, so we are just literally sending out our crews, and the first group we're sending out is to Lafitte. And the reason why is because we know that was the largest population that sheltered in place and suffered the highest damage in terms of wind, and mostly because of water. We are on the phone with Mayor Carmondale from Grand Isle now, and we know that the firefighters there are safe, but they just lost total communications. We are in the process of sending a search and rescue team to Grand Isle. That will take a little more time, but all the preparations are being made. The team has already left for Lafitte, and so they will do a quick assessment, and then from there they will basically be the forward observers to direct the search and rescue personnel that are going to actually go in and do the rescue. Also, Mayor Kerner has employed the use of the Cajun Navy, so it is my understanding that they're going to be conducting the water rescues. So at some point in time, we will try to make sure that they understand their mission, and possibly so we can coordinate from a grid to grid, so we make sure we don't miss anybody. Good news is that JPSO is back online answering calls. There was a rumor that the 911 center communications had gone down, but it was just their administrative phones, not their complaint operators, so they were always functional. State Police is on the streets already conducting wind chill assessments, and Oshton Hospital has ordered water, large additional water tankers. I'm looking here. EMS and fire are also up and running and answering calls for service.
What kind of calls are they getting? Do you know, Joe?
Well, in some cases, people trapped in their homes. Some cases, elderly, special needs. The house roof collapsed, and they need help being extricated. They're not. In some cases, they're not actually hurt. They just can't get out. Mm-hmm. And so, Tommy, we've got a tremendous amount of trees down, and now the primary concern, of course, are nails, because what we are noticing is that abnormally high number of roofs were damaged with this one event. And so when they pull those seal tabs off, the nails come with them, and so now we have nails, roofing nails all over the place. So that will be a process to try to clean some of these trees, remove some of these telephone poles and trees, so that we can make the roof. So it's going to be a three-part process there. We need to get rid of we need to move the telephone poles to the side, the trees to the side, and in some cases those trees are so large they'll have to actually be, cut up by park and parkways and tree contractors. And then the areas will have to be swept with street sweepers so we can get the nails, if nothing else, pushed to the side or picked up. So it's going to be a process. We do have water pressure on the West Bank, and our Department of Public Works under Mark Drews, they are actually going to put put the pressure back on, and from the beginning of the water plant, they're just going to follow the line straight out, identify, locate the breaks, and just start repairing them immediately, one at a time. So a long-term projection on that from the director is 3 days. If we're lucky, it'll be a little bit shorter than that.
That's primarily from trees that were uprooted and pulled up water lines with them?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
And again, for people who are go ahead, Joe.
No, I'm sorry. There is one other possibility. If you get excessive rain that actually washes out the subsoil, and the pipe doesn't have any support, it could break that way also. But yes, for the most part, the conventional wisdom at this time is that this is being caused by trees that were uprooted.
Have you guys heard anything else from Entergy about power or even a time limit, a time estimate?
We have not.
Worst possible case?
Anything official at this point. So we do know that we have some additional information on the tower that fell. The tower that went down actually services 5 different parishes. So I know one is Jefferson, one is St. Charles, one is St. Bernard. I don't know who the other 2 are, but it was certainly a major feeder. So we were told that Energy seems to think that they will be able to temporarily work around that main transmission line.
Say that again, if you would, Joe, please.
Energy believes that I was told by a parish official that Energy believes they will be able to work around that down transmission line and redirect some through switching to different grids, that they will be able to get the power up. So the point is they don't have to repair that particular tower to get electricity to the various different grids.
Including, would that be just Jefferson, or is that Orleans Parish as well?
No, I think that included all 5 municipalities. They're just going to start switching.
And go through those again, if you would, please, Joe, because I'm trying to hold the phone and take notes and everything else.
Well, I know of 3 off the top of my head.
All right.
I know that it was us, it was Jefferson, St. Charles, and St. Bernard. I'm not sure who the other 2 were. There were a lot of things going on in the room, and I couldn't write fast enough. But the point that should be taken that it appears Energy has a plan to reroute around that particular obstruction or obstacle.
That's huge.
It is huge, and it'll be temporary. But we don't have any information as to how they intend to proceed with that feeder line. Whether they will put another tower up, whether they'll go underground, we have no idea about that.
But that would be a consideration after, because they can do some kind of rerouting with the grid and help get power restored a lot more quickly to Jefferson Parish, St. Charles, St. Bernard, and you said there were 2 other parishes, and you don't know for a fact if it was Orleans, or you do?
No, I do not. I do not at the time. But, yeah, that would be huge. I mean, and, hey, look, you know what, Tommy, it could have been part of their contingency plan. What happens if this tower ever goes down? So apparently that scenario was given thought, because we're being told that there's a plan in place to mitigate that.
So did they give you a time frame on that?
They did not. I think Energy, and again, in all fairness to them, their crews are just getting out this morning also, and they're making their assessments. I would imagine that by this evening or this afternoon, they will be prepared to possibly give an assessment. I know that we're going to be in a much better place this afternoon. We're already starting to send out our crews, and then the sheriff's office will also be conducting windshield assessments, and the data will start creeping in, and then we're going to have to, put that data in its various categories, and then disseminate it, and then mold that information into a plan.
One thing, and I don't think it's too early to start warning people about this, are the storm chasers, and they come in. They did it after Katrina. We learned about it the hard way, and they take people's money and they go off with it, and they don't get the people out of their money, and they don't get the repairs. I know it's plenty early in this, but I just don't want anybody to be taken. At this point, I would not arrange business with anybody unless they're reputable, they've been around for a while, and you know who they are.
That is something that is a point that has come up in discussion, and I think there will be some press releases as it relates to that.
And again, it's still early because the damage has not even been assessed. I just know there are people that are, and phone lines are out, and I don't know what kind of communications they have, but there are people that live to swindle others, and I just want to try to protect people as much as we can. So a curfew is in effect from now until 6 p.m. So for people that are calling in and asking about, can I get on the I-10, can I this, can I that, the answer is no, because there is a curfew in Jefferson Parish. Is that accurate? Until 6 a.m. tomorrow.
Until, yes, correct. And then that deadline tomorrow will be revisited, but we're hoping we can at least get our assessments done by this evening, and then at that point the curfew will be revisited. But it's definitely going to be a day-to-day decision on that, Tommy, because it's, Region 1 area is poised. We have a strong recovery plan and a strong damage assessment plan. That includes New Orleans, St. Bernard, and Plaquemine. So, but what we need is a little bit of time, and we need a little bit of cooperation from the public so that we don't have vehicles, just driving and sightseeing and rubbernecking. And look, the traffic signals aren't going to be working. So that is even going to create the greatest hazard here. So, yes, we're strongly advising individuals not to go out on the street. It's the grocery stores are going to be closed. The pharmacies are going to be closed. No one has electricity right now, so therefore nobody can conduct any kind of commerce.
So does that mean in terms of curfew that if you are out driving around, you probably will be stopped by the police if they see you?
That if you're seen by the police, I would imagine that, and I'm not speaking for La Pinta, but from past experience as a New Orleans police officer, we would definitely stop the vehicle and inquire as to why they're on the streets. It could be a legitimate reason. They could be sick. They could be going to act in the capacity of a caregiver for a parent or an uncle or an elderly friend. So, they're going to be understanding. But,
go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
No, that was it.
Okay, for people that are listening from out of town, they're concerned about their homes, maybe securing roofs or maybe looting, those kind of things. I presume there have been conversations with Sheriff Lapinto. He's on top of that, and the department's on top of that. And in terms of securing homes, it just can't be done. It's a good idea, but you just can't get into the parish right now.
That is correct. And I can tell you from what my wife called and told me about our neighborhood, that the police there's been an increased visible presence of police patrol in our neighborhood. So you're right, Joe LaPinto is extremely proactive, comes from a long line of police officers. His father was a captain with New Orleans, and so he knows that business very well. So, in this post-storm environment, lessons learned from Katrina, you have to have a heavy police presence in order to avoid looting and unnecessary burglaries and just vandalism too.
What are you hearing from the Coast Guard in terms of salvage, both as it relates to, and I know it's plenty early, they haven't even been able, I guess, maybe now they're looking at it for the first time, the bridge in Lafitte and also the tower in the river and the lines and so forth in terms of salvage. Were you able to learn anything else from the Coast Guard at all about that?
We actually have an excellent relationship with the Coast Guard. And so we have been in contact with their command center, who their commander is Lieutenant Commander Lauren Keefe, and then also her supervisor, Commander Brooke Serbu. And we were on the phone with them all night, and we were exchanging information. It is my understanding they are sending assessment teams down to Lafitte today. DOTD is sending a team down to Lafitte at the Corona Bridge to assess that. And, of course, the two will work together. And of course, between the two, they will also oversee the salvage operation. If those vessels will have to be stabilized and lifted and then taken off out of the way, and then if the bridge can be repaired, we're talking 3 months at least. So if not, and then it'll have to be removed, and then a new bridge put in its place. So, but the Coast Guard is actively involved and working closely, and we have a Coast Guard liaison in the EOC 24 hours.
You talked about a lot of people in the room, and you were taking notes and so forth. Was the school board part of that? And do you know anything about schools in Jefferson Parish at all? Obviously, you got to have power before you can have school. That depends on what energy can do in terms of rerouting. And if people are just joining us, the big news that Joe shared with us is that Entergy told them that they would be able to reroute power and rearrange grids somehow. And I'm probably butchering that technical explanation, but that the restoration of power is not going to be dependent on the rebuilding of those reconstruction of that tower or the rerouting of those lines, correct?
That was our understanding.
Anything else, Joe, you want to add before we let you go? I know you're tired, and I appreciate you taking the time to fill us in, and people are listening, and they need to know, and they want to know, and you're the only contact we have at this point.
Circling back to the schools real quick.
Yeah.
We made contact with Dr. Gray from the Jefferson Parish Public School System and Dr. Raynell Houston, who is the superintendent of schools for the Archdiocese in Jefferson. So we've had a very robust conversation and contact with them starting last week. So the schools will not be open on Monday. They will make the assessment on Sunday, both, as to how long they will keep schools out. Of course, without power, Tom, they're not going to have schools. So,
right.
Though they haven't made this official call, I would assume that the suspension of school will continue past Monday, but they will make official announcements on Sunday.
And wait, Joe, just to be clear, and I know we've all been up a lot. Today is Monday, so they're going to make the assessment.
I'm sorry, you're right. No, you're 100% right. So they'll be putting out a press release today. I'm sorry, you're right.
No, Joe. Look, you're exhausted, man. You probably haven't slept in 3 days. I understand that. I appreciate 2 days. I appreciate your time and your efforts and your hard work. Anything else you want to let anybody know about Jefferson Parish?
No, right now I think that's about it. And we're working very, very feverishly to get everything back to normal. And look.
Oh, let me jump one in here real quick, if I may, because somebody texted this in about the lift stations and flushing toilets, etc., and water pressure. That goes back to what you said about they're going to start turning it on later and then see what happens and follow it leak by leak. But I think this person is specifically asking about using water from a pool to flush a toilet. I think that's still going to cause a problem at the lift stations, is it not?
That is a short-term solution. It will work maybe for half a day or 24 hours, and at that point, it will not work because the actual drainage pipe that sewage is going into will eventually fill up because it's not being pulled out at the lift station. However, we do have the ability. We have over 500 lift stations, but we have identified about 30 lift stations that they can open valves and service quite a few. So we have enough generators to operate those key lift stations. However, the problem, we're going to have those generators in place sooner than later, but the issue will be that can't work until the
lines are fixed.
Water pressure is restored.
And that can't be restored, Joe, until the lines are fixed, right?
No, correct. Exactly right. So I would not recommend at this point anyone take water and use that to flush the toilet, because if the line is broken or was broken by an uprooted tree, then now you're going to be putting human waste into the ground. And so that's going to cause another set of problems with environmental issues.
Joe, God bless you, man. Thank you. You know, you can reach us at any point if you have anything at all to add or notify us. I know you're going to be a busy day. I know it's going to be probably a tragic day and a sad day in some cases, but hang in there. God bless you, and thank you.
You know, Tommy, I just wanted to thank you because you're always an easy interview. You really are. I mean that. And also thank you again for giving us the platform to get our message out there, because I know you have thousands of listeners. So WWL is a great asset to us, too, as are all the radio stations that we speak to. But we appreciate that accessibility and that the platform.
Thank you, Joe. Hang in there, man. I know it's going to be a tough day because I know it's not just going to be rescue. There's going to be some recovery involved as well. It's 7:43. It is Monday, August 30th, the day after Ida made landfall in southeastern Louisiana as a Category 4 and remained so for a while. And we're going to keep giving you the information that you need. A curfew in Jefferson Parish is underway until 6 a.m. tomorrow. And in terms of, I know this is not political or anything, but just constitutional rights and all that, you just need to help the authorities help you. So please do not go out, do not drive around. I guess if you want to walk around your neighborhood safely, you can do that. But I think a great point that Joe just made is that they got nails all over the place. And it's going to be hard to get a flat tire fixed or 4 flat tires fixed until they do something with that in terms of cleaning up the streets. So just stay put. Keep it tuned right here to WWL. We'll pass along whatever information we have as soon as we get it to you. We're going to take a break and be back in a flash.
WWL, Louisiana's official emergency management station, is closely monitoring the path of Ida. Stay connected and stay informed with WWL, AM/FM.com, and the Audacy app.
It's continuing coverage of Ida on WWL, Louisiana's official emergency management station. Also on Magic 101.9, Bayou 95.7, and B97. Connect now on the Oakwinhart Jewelers talk and text line, 504-260-1870.
All right, here we are, 7:47. I'm Tommy Tucker. It is 13 minutes before 8 o'clock on the day after Ida, Monday morning, August 30th. A power outage is from Channel 4 WWL TV. Has the drainage pumps off in Algiers, and that has led to street flooding and concern about water approaching homes in some neighborhoods. Floodwaters on General de Gaulle begin at Shirley Drive and the underpass at the West Bank Expressway. Floodwaters are not receding because drainage pumps in Algiers are not pumping, maybe due to lack of power. This is Channel 4 reporting this. And having grown up on Lauredale, which is next to Shirley Drive, I fully understand where the area that they're talking about. And remember when we had the first May 3rd flood, wading in water up until just about a block before General Meyer, so that water can build up fast, and it is a low-lying area. Anyway, the water in the drainage canal between de Gaulle's eastbound and westbound lanes has reached the roadway, and there is no indication that it will recede before power is restored to the drainage pumps in the area. So if you're trying to access Algiers west of Shirley Drive, you can drive north on L.B. Landry Avenue and head west on Newton, and then that turns into General Meyer. But you got to keep in mind, and we've not heard from Orleans Parish because everybody is trying to assess the situation, and there are communications issues, as there would be after a Category 4 makes landfall and tears up the area. But the roadways are just full of trees and power lines, tree branches, as Joe Valiente brought up a point. It might seem minor, nails from the shingles that have been ripped off, and that's going to cause you flat tires, and then you really got problems because there are no service stations open. So if you're planning an exit, the worst thing you could do at this point is drive around. Drainage ditches, the story goes on to say, in Algiers neighborhoods seem to be almost overflowing as occasional rain bands add more water to an already overwhelmed drainage system. Terry Parkway, they say, is partially blocked by downed trees and floodwaters less than a mile south of Oakwood Mall. Manhattan Boulevard is blocked south of the Magnolia Trace Drive by a tree and down power lines on the southbound side. Gretna Police Department, Louisiana State Police, New Orleans Police Department, and JPSO are patrolling areas in the West Bank, and some are posted near flooded roadways. So, for example, in my case, if I planned on going to... the phones are back on currently. They're working, so you can call us at 504-260-1870 and let us know what's going on where you are. We'll see how long that lasts, 504-260-1870. But in my case, if I wanted to get to Belle Chase, I would have a hard time getting there because Terry Parkway is blocked, Manhattan is blocked. The only option would be, if I could get off of the Crescent City connection, would be to go up L.B. Landry, which I guess used to be Whitney Avenue, I'm guessing that, and then turn right on Newton, which then goes into General Meyer, and then follow that down to Woodland. But we've not heard anything from Plaquemines Parish, and again, you got to realize the parish was, I'm sure, devastated down south. We don't know what the situation is in Belle Chase, but the phone lines are currently working. So if you are in Belle Chase, okay, so we're back to this. If you're in Belle Chase and you can give us a report of what's going on, if you text it in to 504-260-1870 and ask us to call you back or let us know it's okay to call you back, then we'll be glad to do that, and that way we can put you on the air. So 504-260-1870. If you can, just tell us what's going on in your neighborhood. I don't want you driving around or anything. From the different areas for different people that are evacuated, and they want to know what's going on in Belle Chase, what's going on in Gretna, what's going on in Westwego, etc. And if you can tell us from your neighborhood, that's going to help a lot and be of a lot of comfort to people that are out of the area. So 504-260-1870, if you could maybe, instead of just saying call me back, give us a little bit of detail about where you are and what's going on so that we can help as many people as we can. I think we're going to go right now to Joe Geruso. Yeah, we are going to go to Joe Geruso, New Orleans City Council member, who's on the Public Works Committee, etc. Good morning, Joe. How you doing?
Hey, Tommy, I'm holding up. How about y'all?
Yeah, it's all we can do. What are you going to do? A Category 4 comes through, maybe Cat 3 when it hit us. It didn't go as it was, I can't say supposed to, as they predicted. Baton Rouge didn't get the worst of it. We did. What is the situation in Orleans Parish now? And take us all over the place if you can, Joe.
Yeah, well, I'll do that. So I'm talking in constant contact with Sewage and Water Board. We're still getting some reports of water that's been holding and not receding as fast as people would like. In addition to people sending it to me on social media or texting me, what we're going to do ourselves is probably later this morning, right before lunchtime, go survey District A from top to bottom, get pictures, what we can send in, and make sure Sewage and Water Board or Department of Public Works or Energy, the utilities know what's going on, so we have a better sense, put eyes on it ourselves. So that's number one. Number two is Sewage and Water Board reports that all of its power is working the way that it should be. There weren't any power hiccups over the night. Frankly, I consider that to be almost nothing short of a miracle at this point, given that, well, look, I mean, Turbine 4 wasn't even up and running.
No, I'm not being sarcastic. I mean it seriously.
Yeah, it is. It's ironic that Sewage and Water Board had more power than Energy, and I'm grateful.
Wow.
I'm grateful.
That could be the statement of the storm. The irony in that Sewage and Water Board had more power than Energy. Wow.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
It's right now the bottom line. We have a phone call, at least one scheduled at 9 a.m. and maybe some more throughout the day with Energy. What I told y'all last night remains the case. There's 8 transmission lines that are down that power Orleans Parish and at least part of the East Bank of Jefferson Parish, including a tower that fell near Avondale. We're obviously trying to see how fast all of that can come up. Energy apparently has tweeted out this morning that it's going to take them several days to survey and then longer to get everything running. We're going to push extraordinarily hard for them to get that surveying done. Obviously, safety comes first, but as quickly as possible. And then the other big question is because the transmission lines sort of cascaded failing throughout the day. Is there a possibility of we can get 2, 3, 4 of those up earlier rather than later and start powering at least part of the city or some of it with those?
So Joe, let me jump in for 1 second. Keep it at otherwise, because that's where you're going to pick it up. Joe Valiente with Jefferson Parish told us that he was in a meeting and Entergy said that they would be able to restore power regardless of or not taking into account this without even at the point repairing the tower or the lines, that they would be able to reroute it through other grids. He said it would be good for, he took notes, Jefferson Parish, it would help Jefferson Parish, St. Charles, St. Bernard, and he said there were 2 other parishes. Do you know anything about that, and was Orleans Parish one of those of the 5 that he could only give me 3?
I don't know the answer for sure, but remember this, even though there may be shared assets, there's 2 different entities. There's Energy New Orleans, which only serves, right, Orleans Parish, and Energy Louisiana. Exactly. So that is a big difference. Now, again, it may be a sharing situation, so I don't want to foreclose and say no, but I just don't know for sure at this moment. And then I was getting ready to say, I know that as soon as the city feels as though it's safe for everybody to mobilize and the wind gusts are down, Department of Public Works is going to start looking at the catch basins to see if there are any problems with places that are reporting flooding that are there. I've seen police just outside Poydras patrolling the streets, so I know NOPD is out and about right now. And I think you're just going to start seeing a surveying of damage. This is purely hypothetical. I don't know what's going to happen either with people who are in the cities and need to get elsewhere. So I imagine the city will start thinking about that as well. So there are a number of moving parts this morning, and I think from my perspective, having lived Katrina like so many other people, I'm thankful the levees held. Yep. I'm thankful that the rain didn't get us. It looks like we're on the backside of these remaining bands of the storm, and I'm hopeful they miss us the rest of the day. And now the question is, how do we get that power back up and running as soon as possible?
Do you know of any curfew? Have you heard anything from Sean Ferguson and NOPD? I presume that nobody wants people driving around Orleans Parish just to sightsee and see what's going on. And what about flooding in houses? Do you know of any flooded houses?
The answer to the first is, I think the city's going to tell everybody to continue to stay in place for as long as possible. The roadways are still going to be dangerous because there are going to be down tree limbs even outside City Hall this morning. On the Perdido side, there are a bunch of limbs that are right outside. And there may be even down lines, and you saw the reporting yesterday, there are blown transformers. So I'm confident the city's going to tell people, please don't rush out to go see things and be on the roads. And it makes, frankly, NOPD's life a lot harder. I have not personally heard of any house flooding per se yet. I've gotten a lot of complaints about the water is higher than I would like it to be, and we want it to get down. But we're going to continue to monitor that, obviously, and if we get any complaints of that, we'll let you know. Also, at least knock on wood, I haven't seen any complaints about lost cars. I'm sure there are going to be some, obviously, but we obviously want to make sure that water's staying out of people's houses as much as possible.
It was just darker than dark last night, absent those with generators in the city. Tonight's going to be the same way, and that's going to be into the foreseeable future, I would think, Joe, for a week or two.
Yeah, I think best case scenario is probably several days to a week, and then maybe longer than that. But like I said, I think all of us want to be as aggressive as possible, trying to push to see what happens. But if we're being realistic, I think several days to a week is probably the right call at this point until we know a lot more about the status of those transmission lines.
Do you know if the city has a press conference planned for later?
I'm not sure about that. We have our internal emergency command operation call at 10 a.m.
Thank you, sir.
Continuing coverage of Ida on 870 AM WWL New Orleans, 105.3 WWL-FM and HD1 Kenner New Orleans, WLMG and WLMG HD1 New Orleans, WKBU and WKBU HD1 New Orleans, and WEZB and WEZB HD1 New Orleans. Audacy stations.
WWL First News. It's 8 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Dave Cohen on your official weather station, WWL.
Ida's lifting to the north, but the impacts don't stop. Today we'll be dealing with showers and thunderstorms on and off. Not everyone gets rain, but we could certainly see some heavy feeder bands. And also, we're going to be watching for strong wind gusts. So strong southerly winds will continue on and off, could gust 40 to 50 miles per hour. And we'll be watching for the potential for higher than normal tides.
Your local weather expert, WWL TV meteorologist Peyton Malone, will have more coming up.
Ida has weakened to a tropical storm over southwestern Mississippi after leaving a path of destruction through southeast Louisiana. All of New Orleans is without power after Entergy says they suffered catastrophic damage. Entergy spokesperson David Free says there will be some real challenges in getting the power back on.
Down in the Bayou region, we're expecting that we may have to send out marsh buggies. These are water vehicles with buckets on them. Here in the Baton Rouge area, we're expecting the possibility of having to use rear lot track machines in order to get to the backyard of homes.
Jeff Palermo, WWL First News.
It will likely take the rest of today before we have a full accounting of exactly just how bad the damage is, particularly in coastal communities that were devastated. Laplace faced shockingly high levels of flooding late last night, along with floodwaters coming up in Tangipahoa and Livingston and along the lakefront in St. Tammany. The New Orleans metro area now looking at extended power outages, and state climatologist Barry Keim says it's a lot unprecedented associated with this.
One heck of a storm, and have tied for the strongest storm to ever hit Louisiana in 170 years. This was a big deal, and it's going to take some time for us to, pull our lives together here.
Hurricane Ida has been a devastatingly massive blow to the region, with powerful winds, storm surge, and rain. WWL's Kevin Gallagher reports.
Governor Edwards says they knew Hurricane Ida was a monster storm, and that became a reality when Ida made landfall near Port Fourchon with maximum sustained winds of 150 miles an hour.
This is one of the strongest storms to make landfall here in modern times.
The governor says the property damage from Ida will be immense, so there will be large demand for shelters.
As people discover that their homes are no longer habitable.
He says a big challenge for the next couple weeks will be restoring the power.
There may be 30,000 linemen available in the state of Louisiana to restore power.
Entergy says the hardest hit areas could be without power for weeks.
The governor asked the president for an emergency declaration, and he got it. President Joe Biden says the federal government is surging help into southeast Louisiana starting today, as WWL's Matt Doyle reports.
Biden says he's committed to getting the region back on its feet.
We're ready to surge all the response capability that we have to deal with whatever comes next, and a lot's going to be coming.
But he warned it could take weeks for the power to come back.
And folks, we're going to be here. We're going to be here to help the Gulf region get back on its feet as quickly as possible, as long as it takes.
Biden says in the meantime, FEMA has pre-positioned 2.5 million meals to help out.
St. Tammany Parish President Mike Cooper is amongst the officials that are fanning out today to get a good look at just how much damage has been done across the state of Louisiana from Hurricane Ida. WWL's Tom Perumian with that.
Parish President Mike Cooper talked about the damage he's expecting to see.
We have call-ins through the night of trees that are down throughout St. Tammany Parish. We know water has come up in low-lying areas along Lake Pontchartrain, so we're just getting out to assess that at this time.
Cooper says his first responders are starting to answer calls for help as they head out to assess the damage the parish has sustained.
The worst Ida had to offer is probably down on Grand Isle and in Lafourche Parish, along with Lower Jefferson in Lafitte. Lafitte this morning is seeing search and rescue crews in high water vehicles and boats going to try and help about 150 people cut off from the rest of the parish after some levees down designed to help stop storm surge were overtopped. Meanwhile, in Lafourche Parish, there's search and rescue will be attempted later today as well as they'll try to see exactly just how bad it was.
The southern portion of our parish, we have catastrophic damage. Really, the central area on down to the southern portion. I rode out the storm in the Galliano area, and it felt like we were in the eye wall for about 6 hours.
Brennan Mathern with the sheriff's office says, do not return to Lafourche Parish if you evacuated. Stay away until you get the okay to come back, and he says that may not be any time in the very near future. Jefferson Parish today has a curfew in place. People are told to stay in their homes until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. A 24-hour curfew issued by Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Shang. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell has told people to stay in their homes until she says it is safe for them to go out, and most other parishes have similar curfews.
Now, your Garcia Roofing forecast on WWL.
For your Monday, we continue to deal with impacts from Tropical Storm Ida. We'll be looking at breezy conditions, higher than normal tides continue with the surge around, and rainfall. Not everyone gets widespread rain like yesterday, but there are going to be some bands that could dump some heavy rain through today. Now, as we head into your Tuesday, not as much rain expected, but still some storms around. Higher than normal tides, but a little bit lower on those, and we'll gradually see the tides improve as we go throughout Tuesday. And I think we'll be back to more of a normal day by Wednesday. So talking about tides back to normal, not as much rain, and still hot and humid. So that's the other story. It's going to be hot and humid over the next couple of days. By the end of the work week, drier, maybe not as humid, but still in the low 90s. From your local weather expert forecast center, I'm WWL TV meteorologist Peyton Malone.
At the airport in Kenner, it is partly cloudy and breezy, 81 degrees with a southwest wind at 21, gusting to 26 miles per hour. WWL Traffic.
From the Acadian Windows and Siding WWL Traffic Center, if you insist on driving out there, eventually you're going to hit a point where you can't go any further, either from down to trees, debris, or power lines. I-10 West, you cannot get out onto the Spillway Bridge to LaPlace. Causeway Bridge also closed. Eastbound out of the city, I-10 also going to hit a point you can't go any further due to down power lines. Electric being out everywhere means there's no traffic lights either. Underneath the I-10, the Carrollton underpass, that is closed. Between downtown and the West Bank, cars are passing over the Crescent City connection, but again, everyone is advised to stay home. For WWL, I'm Joshua Dausch.
Thank you, Joshua. I'm Dave Cohen. Now back to Tommy Tucker on WWL.
So I get a text from a coworker and a friend who asks about Orleans Parish and specifically water. So it might not be a bad thing to go over parish by parish and recap what's going on in Orleans Parish. Joe Geruso had the line of the storm so far when he said the irony of the Surge and Water Board having more power than Entergy.
Yes.
That's about as ironic as it gets.
Yeah.
But
who would have thunk that at the end of this, that both the turbines and the large generators that the Surge and Water Board seem to be working just fine, but Entergy's transmission lines tumbled into the river with the tower.
And look, kudos to the Surge and Water Board and Hassan Courban for making that happen. In terms of if they want to go to Orleans Parish, and first of all, a text comes in and says a friend of theirs went driving around and now has 2 flat tires and they're stuck, and that's what Joe Valiente said, and it's true. When the shingles come flying off, guess what? Those big roofing nails come flying off with them. And as a result, they got nails all over the place, so if you do get a flat or 2 or 3, good luck getting it fixed.
Yeah, nobody's coming to save you. There's no tow truck getting out in this.
And you're not going to be able to go to AutoZone and get any of that fill a tire, anything it is, like those kind of deals, unless you're stocked up on it. So just don't do it. So let's recap. Orleans Parish, you're going to have water. You don't have to boil water, but there is a lift station issue.
Right. So you can get water out of the tap, but they ask you not to put it in the drain or the toilet in Orleans Parish unless you absolutely have to. The word in New Orleans is conserve, because they don't want to see the system overburdened to a point that sewerage starts backing up in your homes. In Jefferson Parish on the West Bank, you are not under any restrictions for either drinking or flushing or using the water. On the East Bank, if you're lucky enough to have water, which many residents are not because of vast breaks of pipes that were pulled up when derooted trees toppled. If you do have running water, you do have to boil it in East Jefferson before you drink it. In St. Charles Parish, you're under a boil water advisory for the water there. And on the North Shore, there's a boil water advisory for Tammany Utilities customers.
And again, the lift issues are on the east bank of Jefferson Parish and...
Orleans Parish.
East bank of Orleans Parish. Well, I thought we had lift issue stations... Wait, I'm confusing. Let's go back for a second. Boil water is...
East Jefferson, St. Charles, and Tammany utility customers.
Lift station issues...
Orleans Parish.
Not in Jefferson?
We have not received any advisement from Jefferson Parish. It won't be a problem, though, because there's barely any running water on the East Bank. So.
Yeah, because I know he said, I think Joe Valiente told us that you didn't want to use the water to flush the pool. That was the pool water to flush the toilet, because that was a very short-term solution, and it would eventually back up if they don't get the lift stations going, and they are dropping generations off at lift stations. So maybe I misunderstood what he said. Jordan's giving me the thumbs up, so I'd be very hesitant about what you flush in.
Yeah, he may have told you that, but they have not issued any kind of advisory from Jefferson Parish to that effect that we have received. So,
well, he told me, and I'm not lying.
I believe it. No, I believe it. I'm not questioning that.
I would not flush the toilet on East Bank of Jefferson Parish unless you absolutely have to, because you don't want it to back up on you. The other thing that Joe Valiente told us is that he was in a meeting, and Joe Geruso with Orleans Parish didn't know this or couldn't speak to it. But he said that Entergy told Jefferson Parish that they would be able to restore power to Jefferson Parish irrespective, and for other parishes, of the tower and the lines that collapsed in the river. And that was my direct question to him. So that means that the restoration of power would not necessarily depend on being able to, or the
restoration of power to Jefferson Parish.
Well, he said it was 5 parishes, and that's what I'm getting to. Joe Geruso couldn't speak to it. He said, and I'm quoting Joe Valiente here, that there was a lot going on. He was taking notes that Entergy rerouting, again restoring power irrespective of the collapsed tower, would affect Jefferson Parish, St. Charles, and St. Bernard. He said there were 2 other parishes, but he wasn't able to write them down. So Joe Geruso didn't know about that. He couldn't comment on it. So I don't know what the other 2 parishes are at this point.
Seems like we should just ask Entergy.
Well, I think we've been trying to get a hold of them.
Okay, I was just saying.
But they're plenty busy. So I presume the news department has tried as well to call Entergy?
Yeah, well, I mean, the spokespeople, that's their job, is to speak. So let's see if we can... Let's circle the wagons, and together we can solve this problem.
And then again, an important distinction, as Joe Geruso made, is you're talking about different entities with Entergy Louisiana and Entergy NOLA, Entergy New Orleans, which serves Orleans Parish. So you would think that there would perhaps, since they're owned by one company, although different branches of the company, I guess, or different legal setups, that they would be able to help one another when it came to restoring power. But the fact that Joe Valiente said that they could restore power, and I'm quoting him now, and I think he knows what he's talking about, irrespective of that collapsed tower in Jefferson Parish by rerouting some things, and he said that would be the case for St. Charles, St. Bernard, and 2 other parishes, the names of which he was not able to write down because there was so much going on. What else, Dave? Don't drive around because they got nails all over the place. You're going to get flats.
More importantly, they got power lines all over the place, which at some point may become energized. They have trees all over the place. You have unidentifiable large, jagged pieces of debris all over the place. You have a lot of sheet metal, a lot of awning pieces, a lot of sheeting from the flashing on people's walls and roofs. There's just a lot of stuff out there, but they should mostly be picked up today, and that's the plan, is to get all of the roads cleared today. And I think that's why Jefferson Parish...
pushed away, maybe not picked up.
Yeah, out of the roadway anyway. Yeah, but I think that's why Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Sheng has issued her curfew until 6 a.m. tomorrow. is because they really believe that with this 24 hours now, they can get all the roads clear and get it at least safe to travel around the parish.
So what is the weather going to be like today?
We are still going to have very breezy conditions, and we could still have squalls. You remember that even after a tropical system, particularly if it moves essentially north, comes up out of the Gulf of Mexico, it drags a lot of that moisture and energy with it. And with other landfalling hurricanes and tropical storms that go essentially north, we have showers and thunderstorms and squalls that come up well after the eye has left the region. And that's definitely possible today. Not everyone will see it, not all the time, but we will see that. And the breezy conditions are expected to last throughout the daylight hours.
On a lighter note, I've been telling you, miserably hot, just slamming in the ground, and I've not been outside yet because the elevators don't work, and we're on the 8th floor, so it involves an 8th-floor hike if you want to go downstairs and come up. But I'll say this, Dave, you and I spoke during normal times about me working out on the stair machine at the gym, and I was wondering if it was real.
I think about you every time I do this.
Yes, and I wondered if it was real or not, if it really simulated climbing stairs, and I got to tell you, it does, because I got up those 8 flights of stairs pretty easy.
I did not.
Really? You need to get on that stair machine at the gym then, when in fact, there is power to power these things. And
my son is a firefighter, and they do the annual stair climb for the 9/11 memorial in this building. And my son climbs 111 flights of stairs every year as a part of the stair climb. And I'm embarrassed that when I get to about 6 flights over the last 2 days coming up the stairs here, I'm like, how does he do it? How does he do 111? After 6, my eyes are burning so bad, and I just wish I didn't have to do it.
Well, he's not his dad's age, which would probably be one of the things.
This is true, and he is a firefighter as well.
Yeah, that's probably the other thing. Real quick, Ed Asner died in a world of other things that are going on besides the storm. A friend of mine, when I got married, thought it would be funny to write Ed Asner, because we would joke around about him for whatever reason, an invitation to my bachelor party. And he sent back a handwritten response.
Really?
A nice letter he sent back saying, I hope you guys have a great time.
He didn't show up at your bachelor party, though, right?
He didn't. No, he said, I'm sorry, I can't make it, but thanks for thinking about me. And it was a very funny note, and he handwrote it. It was handwritten by him, and I presume it was. And I thought it was pretty cool for him to do that. All right, 504-260-1870. If you text us and tell us, Dave, was there anything else you wanted to mention?
No, I think it's about it for now. I'm tired.
All right, Melissa Mady from State Police joins us now, our friend. Good morning, Melissa. How are you?
Hey, Tommy. Good. How are you?
Busy, tired, but that's the way it works. First of all,
same over here.
The fam is okay? Everything's good?
As far as I know, I haven't quite been home yet, but my husband's there, so he'll assess damage. I think maybe some minor roof things, but I think we're all right. How about you?
Don't know, but I've texted a neighbor, and we'll see. So I'm sure everything's will be fine. The family's out of town, so that's the most important thing. Tell me about highways and what's open, what's closed, what the state police wants people to do and not do, etc.
Okay, well, first thing is to stay put. Stay where you are. Continue that shelter in place. We are seeing some people getting out and moving around the areas. We have trees down. There's power lines down. Some of our personnel are stuck, so in their own homes and neighborhoods and things like that. So we are maneuvering personnel from north down to south. And then, of course, we did have some personnel from around the state that was in Baton Rouge, and they're headed out to those harder-hit areas, especially down in the Houma, Lafourche area, of course, New Orleans. And they're going to start assessing everything. We do have troopers and DOTD workers out there on the highways right now. They're trying to get those trees off the roads. But, look, Tommy, we don't know exactly where all the road closures are. I know I-10 pretty much from, Williams all the way through to Baton Rouge is going to be an issue. We have water in some places, like around, say, Charles St. John area. When we do have trees down, so I-10 is not going to be passable there.
Would it be accurate, Melissa, to say I-10 from Williams to Baton Rouge closed for the most part?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be accurate. Even if you do have some areas where you might be able to move, you're going to get stuck by other trees.
Gotcha.
So the interstates are not going to be passable. I-55 The northern part of I-55, from what I'm being told, looks like there's toothpicks all over the interstate. So
trees.
So we have trees down everywhere. So I-55 is going to be an issue. We do have some trees down on I-12 also. So right now, because of our personnel, because of them moving around, and it's safety for them, especially with these chainsaws and everything else that they're using, is for people just to stay in place. And we will let them know when these roads open. So they can follow us on our Facebook page, Twitter, or Instagram. We're going to be posting everything there. There's also 511la.org, which is going to show road closures, and that is DOTD puts all that together and puts those road closures in there. So 511la.org, and we're trying to get that uploaded and all the information in there. But of course, there are some communication issues with different towers and things like that being down. But we're getting things across as we get a little bit of internet, and then it goes back down.
So in terms of I-10 East, and I hate to ask this because you don't want anybody out driving around, but I-10 East, well, let's take I-10 from Williams through the city, through Metairie and so forth, and then 610, all that stuff. Where does that stand, or is it just don't drive on it?
I wouldn't drive on it right now. These down power lines could still be live. And look, safety for all of our people is paramount. So they need to know that these power lines can be live. If they're on the interstate and they're moving pretty quickly and they come upon a tree and they hit it, I mean, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
We don't want anybody to get injured. We don't want to have to go out and investigate crashes. We're trying to get these roads clear so people can come back in and assess their damage. And we know that that's what they want to do, and we're going to try to do it as quickly as possible, but we have to do it as safely as possible, too. So just if people follow us on any of those...
Give them again, please.
Any of those social media. We're on... Louisiana State Police is on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. And then 511la.org is going to be another place to locate any road closures. But and I just made a post a little bit ago, just showing some trees down. We're going to try and get some drone footage, just so people really get a good idea of what's going on out there, and hopefully that would discourage them from moving about.
I think it would. I really do. I think if people can see it, then that they'll be comfortable in knowing what they have to deal with. The unknown is the worst, and I know you guys are going to work on it as hard as you can. Melissa, real quick, in terms of, it was just black as night, pardon the pun, but with no lights in the city last night. Jefferson Parish be the same way tonight, and maybe 7 to 10 days. Does the state police have a patrolling part in all of this as well, not just traffic, but in terms of crime prevention, looting, etc.?
Oh, absolutely. So, like I told you earlier, we have troopers that came in from different areas of the state. We're going to be on looting patrol. We're going to work with Jefferson Parish, Orleans Parish, Kenner Police Departments, St. John, St. Charles. We're going to work with all of those sheriff's offices and police departments and help supplement and absolutely be out there for the safety of our citizens. So, yeah, we'll be out there. So, that's something that we usually do, especially after all of these storms.
Just trying to get people to relax and not try to force their way in and know that their property is going to be safe.
Look, Tommy, I think the biggest thing for people to remember is that that's property. Mm-hmm. Life is the most important thing. So right now, it's still not safe, and we want to make sure that all of those people are protected. We can check on property later, and there's not much you can do, even if you do have a roof leak or damage. You're going to have to fix that a little bit later. Life is the most important thing that we have to keep in mind right now.
Thank you, Melissa. And, whenever you need us, we're here. Give us a call, please. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Tommy. Appreciate it.
You got it. Melissa Mady, Louisiana State Police. Again, you heard her. She's not seen her home. Those of us that are working have not. So we're all anxious. We all want to know what's happening. But keep in mind, it just ended last night. I was trying to get some sleep in the office, and although it was one of the worst days of my life, I managed to try to fall asleep a little bit, but with the rain and the wind being relentless, this thing didn't end until maybe early this morning. The sun is up now. People are out looking around. Some of the texts that are coming in, our phone lines are not working in terms of your calling in, but if you text us at 504-260-1870. Give us your name, your location, and we want to hear from you. We want to talk to you and get an update on the different areas, not as you're driving around, but just in your neighborhood, so that people that evacuated from your neighborhood will hear what it's like there. and it'll help ease their mind, we'd love to talk to you. So just text us at 504-260-1870. Let us know it's okay to call you back, and give us some information, if you can, about what's going on in your neighborhood, and we'll let you be about your business. Some of the texts that are coming in, we left Macomb, Mississippi Saturday, headed to Little Rock, Arkansas. Our prayers to everyone. Thank you all for the coverage. Another question is about FEMA. Are they going to give out water, where and when? That's a good question, but it all leads to, and I'm sure they will, you got to clear the roads first, because you heard Melissa Mady just now talk about toothpicks all over the interstate with trees down all over the place. A lot of highways, streets, people can't drive around. You got to be patient and let the officials clear the streets first. And if you do go venturing around, and I don't mean to belabor this point, but as these shingles fly off of the roofs, they bring the nails with them. So we've already gotten texts from people that decided to go driving around, and they're stuck where they are with 2, 3, and 4 flat tires. And then you're really screwed, blued, and tattooed, because there's nobody to help you, and you're going to be walking from wherever you are. Some of the other text comes in here. We need more water than power. Please talk about. Well, in Orleans Parish, they don't have a problem with water other than flushing the toilet. They might have a little lift station issue there. But when it comes to... Tim, help me out here, because I'm trying to read my notes and I can't. Boil water advisory in East Jefferson, and you can turn your microphone on. Boil water advisory in East Jefferson. Where else? St. Charles. I'm trying to read my notes. And bear with me here, if you will. I got a lot of notes on this page. Boil water and St. Tammany, for a portion of St. Tammany. So the boil water advisory... let me take a second and straighten this out, and I'll get you the information that you need. But bottom line is, Jefferson Parish did issue a press release saying don't flush the toilets because they're afraid that it's going to back up. And Joe Valiente telling us that eventually it could back up in your house if they don't get the lift stations going. The pressure is low in Jefferson, East Jefferson, because of so many broken water mains. St. Charles Parish, too, a boil water advisory. The water pressure is low in Metairie because of so many broken water mains. That could be due to these big oaks that have their roots intertwined with the water mains that were uprooted and tipped over, or maybe just subsidence from the soil beneath it that was exacerbated by the storm, and as a result, the water main collapsed and broke. So they're going to go through that just kind of like a plumber, where you go and you track down the leak and you fix it from that point. We have no water in Jefferson Parish, can't boil water. We don't even have when we will get off water. We are in Metairie, cannot stay in home with no water, have a safe place to go in past Christian. Need to know if we can get on the I-10. Well, that goes to what Melissa Mady just told us, in that they don't know. They don't know if you're going to get stuck by trees, etc. Tim tells me St. James Parish has a boil water advisory. So in terms of when are we going to get this back, when are we going to get that back, it's not going to be quick. And they're assessing all of that, and as soon as we find out, we will let you know. This text comes in. My name is Catherine Johnson. We live on Hurst Street off of Transcontinental. We are between West Napoleon and Vets. There are windows busted out of cars by Metairie Manor, down tree limbs. A tree is on top of a house down the street. A few people are driving around, and they should not be. Another text, we only have WWL for info. Internet and cable are down. So, unfortunately, for X, when state police say go to their website, we can't. So I understand that, and we're trying to get you as much information as we possibly can, but we're somewhat hampered as well. We are from Houma and in Orange, Texas. Our neighborhood was hit hard. I'm just shocked at how many idiots are trying to get home first. But nothing in my house is worth getting stuck. You can call, but I'm sure you want people who are still at home, and primarily we do. Are we able, gentlemen in there, to call the people back or not and get them on the air? Let me take a break and we'll reconnoiter here because I'm being told one thing, and apparently what we're able to do is different. It's continuing coverage of Hurricane Ida on Audacy's family of radio stations, Louisiana's official emergency management station, WWL-AM-FM.com, and the Audacy app, also on Magic 101.9, B97, and Bayou 95.7. Back in a flash.
WWL, your connection through the storms is tracking Ida to keep you informed and keep your family safe. Listen for storm updates every hour and track the storm real time at WWL.com.
We're tracking Ida on WWL-AM-FM.com and the Audacy app. Also on Magic 101.9, Bayou 95.7, and B97. Share your storm story on the Oakland Hart Jewelers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870.
All right, 8:33. This is the morning after the night before Tommy Tucker, August 30th, the August 29th, the day that will indeed live in infamy in this area. Katrina and I believe Isaac, and now Ida. Cheryl in Tall Timbers was able to call in, and we were able to connect with her. How you doing, Cheryl?
Hi, I'm doing okay. How are you, Tom?
I'm okay. Tall Timbers, for people that don't know, is on DeGaulle near Woodland and between, shall we say, Holiday and Berman Highway and the bridge over the Intracoastal Canal. So tell me what's going on there and what's happening.
Sure. Yeah, so last night we were noticing the water was getting higher to the curb, and my front door is far back from the road, but we noticed it just kept getting higher, but it wasn't raining that hard anymore. So we finally went out and noticed that it was the canal behind on Tullis behind our house. It's overtopped, and it's a river. My street's a river, and I've got, I don't know how much longer before it gets inside.
Is it rising?
It is, because this morning I talked to my sister, and it was like right before the porch, and now I have water on the porch, so it's kind of just flowing in and out because it's an active flow from the canal, and so the wind is blowing it back and forth. Thank goodness it's not raining, but I'm afraid for more rain.
Wow.
I don't know what to do. So I tried to reach some of my neighbors to see, but I already see a couple of houses have water for sure because they sit just a little bit lower than we do. But we're getting pretty close. So it's just kind of, we can't go anywhere. We don't want to go outside. It's dangerous you don't know what's in the water, and we can't drive. So we're just kind of waiting for it to go down. But it's definitely come up because this morning it wasn't on my actual porch, and now it's just kind of flowing back and forth off my porch. So
I feel so bad for you, Cheryl, because I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than knowing what difference a couple of inches is going to make, right? It's everything between no flooding in your home and having to go through everything that you have to go through. You said you did see houses in Tall Timbers that had taken on water?
Just looking out of my window, I can see that the two houses to my right, kind of caterpillar, the water's so high, it's covering up the porch. Like I know the water's in their house because I'm looking at it. And then the house right across the street from me, they're almost in the same position that we are. They have a little more space, but their car that's parked in their driveway on the side, it's kind of a sloped driveway, and the car, the trunk is, the water's almost to the trunk, so the car's got water. The house is about to get water. Two houses on the right of me have water, I know. And my neighbor to the immediate right, she has a little more space before hers gets water. But when I look over into her backyard, because her fence is down now, the canal is just flowing, and so it's flowing all the way down the street. And
Channel 4 has a story that they updated at 7:10 It says a power outage has the drainage pumps off in Algiers, and that's led to street flooding and concern about water approaching homes in some neighborhoods. Joe Geruso called in earlier. Joe, if you're listening and you have any information on this, we would love to hear from you. We have reached out to the city. Kristen Gislason Palmer, if you're listening, we would love to hear from you, because you can hear Cheryl is terrified that water is going to enter her house, and rightfully so, because it's inches away, and she sees houses down the street that have already taken on flooding, and you say it's coming from the canal from Tullis behind your house, not the de Gaulle Canal.
No, I believe it's. I guess I'm not really sure. I believe it's the canal in Tullis, but it could be. I'm not really sure about the direction, but looking at Tullis, so yes, it could be de Gaulle. And I did see a post from Park Timbers in the Nextdoor app that they woke up to the same thing, water all on their street, and it happened between midnight and 6:30. So I'm thinking maybe it is the one on de Gaulle. I'm not sure, but I know the canal directly behind my house, that's like Tullis and de Gaulle. So. And we just realized too, right before you called, that my garage is flooded. There is water in my garage already, so it's kind of inevitable. So it's definitely helpless feeling. Do
you know from what you saw on social media? And there's been a lot of phony stuff going around on social media, but I sense you're talking to people that you trust about any homes flooded in Park Timbers. The post that I saw, and it's the Nextdoor app, so it's I don't know the person who posted in Park Timbers, but they're definitely concerned that it's their street is flooded. So I think that it's the same situation, that the street's flooded and it's approaching their home. And then what was the street? Do you remember, Cheryl?
I don't remember what street she said, but when I talked to neighbors on the Nextdoor app in Tall Timbers, where I live, Mimosa Court, another lady, her backyard on Mimosa Court is quickly filling up. And we were talking about 2, 3 a.m., and now she woke up and she kind of posted a video about of her backyard filling up. So she has a little more time because her house is a little higher off her patio, but it's the same situation, and she's just a couple of streets away from me.
What was it like last night for you?
I was trying not to panic, and I felt helpless. I took some, because I didn't get sandbags. I didn't think that I needed sandbags, so I kind of panicked. I took a couple of rolled up rugs that we just moved in, by the way, 2 months ago. So I took a couple of rolled up rugs that we hadn't put out yet and put it on the front porch. I took some cement blocks. I was just doing whatever I could, and I just kind of panicked this morning. When I saw the lake, though, it was so dark last night. So to wake up and see the lake, river, whatever, that's my street. I just broke down, and I have my kids, and my mom and dad are here with me, and we were all just here to get through it together. And I don't want I don't want another crisis. So,
Cheryl, were you're alone with your kids, or your husband's there? I don't know. I'm not trying to pry into your business, but
no, yes, it's me, my husband, my 3 kids, and my mom and dad.
Wow, is that the first storm you've rode out or not, or ridden out?
No. No. Well, it's been a long time. I just moved back to New Orleans, so my family's been here. We moved away for a few years, and now we're back. Katrina, I was at LSU, so I can't remember the last storm we rode out, but I definitely was much younger and not responsible.
Is that your first house?
It's our second house. Our first house here in New Orleans, though, because we lived away since 2013. And came home in June and bought this house, and now here we go, I guess. So it's just pretty surreal.
I feel so bad for you. I feel so bad for everybody. We're going to try to reach out to the city officials, Kristen Gislason Palmer, anybody we can get, Joe Geruso, to find out what's going on, or the Surgeon Water Board with the pumps in Algiers, because apparently they operated well throughout the city. But it seems as though something that's happening right now is water rising in Algiers, and the last thing in the world you need is rain because if it's rising now, it's certainly not draining, right?
Right. And that's what I thought this morning. Maybe it's draining. It seemed like it held for a few hours, and then now I look and I'll send a couple of pictures. I'll text a couple of pictures over for you. It's definitely to my porch, and it wasn't that far up, so now it is.
Call us back if you can, or at least text me or something, however it was we arranged to get in touch with you if it gets any worse, please, or to give us an update maybe in an hour or so.
Sure, definitely will. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you. God bless y'all, Cheryl. I feel so bad for you, and I wish there was something we could do. I got a text here from a guest of ours, Glenn Ritchie from Auburn, who is a logistical supply chain expert. And Glenn, thank you so much for taking the time to text this in. And he's saying, please remind people, he's a supply chain guy. That's what he studies for his life's work. Please remind people that access to gasoline will be highly limited because of the pre-storm demand spike, supply disruption, and no electricities. Gas stations cannot even pump gas unless they have a generator or an alternate source of power. Don't drive into impacted areas and get trapped without access to gas. Our thoughts are with the people of Nolan, Louisiana. God bless y'all. One of our frequent guests, Glenn Ritchie, who has been of intense help during the COVID pandemic about supply chain issues. So that's nice of you to text in, Glenn. We appreciate it. This Gerald in Woodmere says, this text in Harvey, all went well at my house on Eastview Drive, just my neighbor's fence down that I just put up from the last windstorm. Bummer. Praise God, my family evacuated. I'm a Jefferson Parish employee, had to stay. St. Charles by Destrehan High says this text, no water, 2 electric poles down in the front yard. A text comes in, we're from the New Orleans East area, would love for persons who stayed home to call in to give us an update. And again, we're facing some challenges here technically with getting the phone calls on the air. Cheryl called in and we were able to connect with her, and you heard her report about water rising in Algiers, and we'll try to get some more details on that. We are going to talk to Auctioner in a little bit to see what the situation is there. And we'll also talk to Entergy around 9:30 or 9:35 to see what the latest is on the power and what kind of fix they have planned for the downed transmission tower and the 8 power lines that are in the river. There is a mandatory curfew in effect for all of Jefferson Parish from now until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Text says front of Tall Timbers does not have water. Neighbor says the canal in front of Bocage is covering de Gaulle. So I guess what this text is telling me is that the flooding that Cheryl was talking about is coming from the canal on Tullis. Some of the other texts that are coming in, and let me just repeat this. If you text in 504-260-1870 and tell us it's okay, and give us a number and tell us who you are and what it is you want to talk about, we'll be glad to call you back. The situation, though, is with cell towers down and some AT&T problems. I understand Verizon might be working a little bit better. We can't always get those calls through. For example, Michelle in Mandeville, we really need more information. And I can tell you, having talked to St. Tammany Parish President Cooper, Mike Coop, Mike Cooper, we call him Coop, that they were on it as soon as the sun came up, and they want to give you the information. We want to give you the information, but this thing just ended hours ago in the middle of the night, and they're out now assessing the damage, and I'm sure there's going to be pardon the pun, a flood of press conferences and updates, etc., as they are more able to assess the issues. But for now, we're kind of counting on you, and the communication system is hampered. So if you can text me, and this would be of particular import for people that have evacuated that are just terribly concerned about their house, from different neighborhoods, if you can text us at 504-260-1870, and I'll pass that information along, and it might at least provide some peace of mind for people about what's happening in their neighborhood. Another text comes in here. Metairie, Clearview North, 3 blocks of veterans downed everything. No power, water, or cell service. The entire area does not have power. Shingles off of houses, says Millicent Mills. Wood Forest and the Oak Forest subdivision Marrero have a tree covering our street and shingles off of houses. That was the God bless you and be safe. In terms of Laplace, Airline Highway, Highway 51, we tried to call you back, Gil, and weren't able to do it. So if you have information about any of that, we'd be glad to hear it if you can text it in. If you're looking for information, I can tell you that Meg Farris talked to us earlier, and you cannot get on the I-10 from Williams, and Melissa Mady confirmed this, to Baton Rouge. For all intents and purposes, the I-10 between Williams and Baton Rouge is closed, and that could be due to trees and down power lines. In terms of the other interstates, they don't want you to drive around. There are the curfews that are in effect, and we've not heard from Orleans Parish as far as a curfew. We've not heard a lot from Orleans Parish at all, but we did hear from Jefferson Parish about the curfew, so you're not supposed to be driving around at all. You need to be a little bit patient, please, and let the authorities push this stuff out of the streets, clear the highways before you get on them, and if you do manage to get on an interstate, you might get stuck or at least have to turn around, and you don't want to go the wrong way against traffic, and if the exit's flooded, then you're not going to be able to get off, and it's just not a good time to do that. Everybody is impatient, I understand that, but you got to be patient. You got to just wait for the authorities to get out. This thing only ended hours ago, to take a look and see what's going on so we can, I guess, take the first step toward fixing it. Mississippi Gulf Coast news. We have any news? Well, if we're trying, as soon as we get any from any officials, we'll pass it along. 500 block of Norman C. Francis says this text in Mid-City is okay. I haven't seen any collapsed walls or roofs, so that's good news. Evacuated to Houston, would like to gauge the amount of damage in our neighborhood, please. Can you maybe text back with a little bit of information about what your neighborhood is? But I can tell you, wherever you are, if there's power, you're doing better than if you would be here. And it's going to be that way for 7 days to a week. We're hoping to talk to Energy around 9:30 to see what their plans are. And to recap what Joe Valiente told us, the Homeland Security Director for Jefferson Parish, he was in a meeting, and he says that Entergy told them that they would be able to restore power to 5 parishes, one of them including Jefferson Parish, and St. Charles and St. Bernard, irrespective of that collapsed transmission tower and the 8 transmission lines. So as a result, it wouldn't take as long to restore the power as it would to wait on the restoration of that line and those lines in that tower, and they don't even know what's going to happen in the future with that, if they'll go a different way or not. But he said he was only able to take notes. He got Jefferson Parish, St. Charles, and St. Bernard, and there were 2 other parishes, and he didn't know which 2 they were. And then Joe Geruso brought out the distinction of Entergy New Orleans and Entergy Louisiana. Entergy New Orleans serves Orleans Parish only. And you can see that as you go through the menu, as you click through your outlet map, although the outage map, although there is only one outage map. So there are shared resources, and let's hope they can get it back as quickly as they possibly can. Tommy Tucker, this continue. Oh, Kristen Palmer joins us. Thank you. Councilperson C for Algiers and a French Quarter. Good morning, Kristen. How are you? Kristen, rather. I'm sorry.
Good morning. It's Kristen. It's fine. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Tell me what's going on in Algiers with the pumping stations and water rising. A lady calling just now worried about her house flooding. She said she sees houses in tall timbers that have taken on water. She's inches away. And then a story on Channel 4, WWL TV, about power that has rendered the pumping stations in Algiers inoperative. What's going on there?
Right, literally just got the phone with Gassan. So basically what you're looking at pumping station 13 is the one that pumps the water out of that particular part of Algiers, right? We have two different pump stations. We have pump 11 and pump 13. Pump 13 went down when all the power connections in the city went down. There's a backup generator that kicked in. In the middle of the night, that generator lost generation power. They've got people out there right now working to fix the generator. Once that is doing, they feel that they can pump the water out very quickly. I'll be briefed again within half an hour. In 10 minutes, I got to get on with Entergy. We're having another brief with them. I spoke with the National Weather Service just a little while ago. They anticipate no heavy rain. So the water that we have is the water that we have, which is good news, right? So my hope is that I'm asking Surgeon Water Board to give me updates every half hour. And as soon as I get more information, we will send it off to you so you can put it on there too.
What have you heard from Entergy so far?
Also, wait, real fast. Also, I just want to mention too, we have on the West Bank for your listeners that are concerned about the West Bank, we've got 50 additional National Guards troops and 4 Humvees, which are also going to be out there working around. So we have in addition to our 4th District Police Station, we also have National Guard troops set up out there.
And, of course, you don't want anybody driving around.
And last night, too, before the event, they also stationed additional EMS so that we would have EMS always stationed on the West Bank. You know, obviously, we're all concerned if there's ever separation, right, because of the bridge. So we've got additional resources stationed over there now.
You're one of the few people we've heard from. Joe Geruso called in as well. Is there a curfew in Orleans Parish? Is that being talked about or not?
Not right now.
Okay.
I'm hoping right now they're assessing all the situations. As you know, I mean, they have to check all the infrastructure needs and how the city can operate without power and for how long in order to make that determination. So once that's made, there's going to be a mayor's briefing at 10 that I'm sure we'll get a little bit more clarity on. And like I said, I'm going to have to jump off in a few minutes to have an Entergy briefing.
Okay, because Joe Valiente told us of something that Entergy was talking about they could do without, that was irrespective of this collapsed tower and transmission line. So for the people worried about flooding in Algiers, the water we have is what we have. Pump went down last night when the power went out. The generator kicked on, then the generator failed. They're working on fixing that generator now, and the water that we have is the water that they have there because they're not expected any more rainfall. Accurate?
Correct. That is the information I have been given.
And in terms of property protection, 50 National Guard troops are protecting Algiers as well as the 4th District. And the National Guard, those 50 guardsmen have 4 Humvees. Is there anything else you can tell us right now, Ms. Palmer?
That and like I said, we have additional EMS, correct, also stationed out there. Yeah, I think people just need to stay inside, right? So at this point, stay inside. You know, I have zero tolerance for people driving around and creating wakes to go into people's property. We need to be. Look, we've done this before, and we also need to be highly cognizant of our neighbors and people that need resources, and also not adding further stress to an already stressed out system. So people just need to stay in. And then also, one of the things, too, with Entergy from our briefing last night is that I made it very clear they can be working on both the transmission as well as the distribution systems simultaneously, right? So they had several thousands of people lined up outside of New Orleans ready to come in to start fixing the distribution system. So that can happen concurrently to working on the MISO lines, the transmission lines.
That is an outstanding point, and I'm glad you made it, that you can start fixing the stuff so it can take power when you're able to generate it again.
Correct. That has always been my concern.
And in terms of energy...
So we don't want to wait.
I'm sorry. In terms of Entergy New Orleans and Entergy Louisiana, do you know of what I'm talking about with Joe Valente? And because you mentioned the briefing, Joe Valiente from Jefferson Parish and working around that collapsed transmission tower and line?
No, I will specifically ask.
Okay.
In less than 10 minutes.
All right, thank you. And call us back, please, if you can. We'd love to know.
Will do. Thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you calling in and giving us the information because people are wondering. So for Cheryl and Algiers and the people that are wondering about the water, to recap, pump station 13 went out when the power went out. The backup generator kicked on, but then the generator failed, and they've been working on it. That's why the water, I guess, has been draining from the higher areas to the low areas of Algiers, and it seems to be rising, which I guess in those areas it is. But she said she checked with the National Weather Service, and as I'm looking out right now, it looks over in the West Bank to be cloudy, partly cloudy, but no rain. So the water we have is the water we have, and they hope that they can get that pump going soon. And for people like Cheryl, my heart goes out to you and your family, because you just moved in the home a couple of months ago, and my heart also goes out to people whose houses have been flooded in Algiers. But can you imagine, you're standing there, you're watching the water, it's in your garage, it's inches away from entering your home, and that's everything, right? It either does or it doesn't flood inside your house. And it all depends on when they get this generator working, which I presume they're working as quickly as they can, and as many people and as much resources as they have, as many resources as they have, they're devoting to that. But it's a matter of time, and you're inches away, and God bless you, Cheryl. I hope they get it done, because Kristen Palmer did tell us that she was told once they get it going, the water should drain out pretty quickly, and that's from pump station 13. They need to get that powered up, and that's going to come from fixing the backup generator that failed. She also said that the West Bank has 50 National Guardsmen that have been assigned for property protection, as well as 4 Humvees in addition to the 4th District Police. So if you're listening from out of town and you're worried about property protection, or maybe you're here and you're worried about personal protection, you can be aware of that. Entergy is scheduled to come on with us between 9 and 9:30. We will talk to as many public officials as we possibly can. We do want to hear from you, and that has to do with the technical challenges. Any news from Myrtle Grove and Plaquemines Parish? We've reached out to Plaquemines Parish. I know Kirk Lapine and Jerry Turlich and all. I'm sure they're very busy assessing the damage down in South Plaquemines and all over. So as soon as we hear anything about that in Highway 23 and they contact us, we'll pass it along to you. So if you're in a neighborhood, don't drive around. But if you can text us and tell us what neighborhood you're in, and tell us it's okay for us to call you back, we'll do everything to call you back and put you on the air, so that we can have at least some form of communication between you out there and the people that are listening that have evacuated and just wondering what's going on. Tommy Tucker back in a flash here on WWL.
Continuing coverage of Ida on 870 AM WWL New Orleans, 105.3 WWL-FM and HD1 Kenner New Orleans, WLMG and WLMG HD1 New Orleans, WKBU and WKBU HD1 New Orleans, and WEZB and WEZB HD1 New Orleans. Audacy stations.
WWL First News. It's 9 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Dave Cohen on your official weather station, WWL.
For your Monday, you can plan for more breezy conditions as Ida lifts away, but we're still going to feel some impacts from it. Not going to be a nice day, but not as bad as last night or yesterday. We got a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm lifting to the north. As we go through the day, breezy conditions, some feeder bands moving through with heavy rainfall, and the tides, they're going to stay high. And it may not be until about Wednesday that our tides return back to normal.
Your local weather expert, WWL TV meteorologist Peyton Malone, and an update now from the National Hurricane Center. Ida's top sustained winds have just dropped to 45 miles per hour as it moves through Mississippi. Today is the day we find out just how big a blow Ida dealt Southeast Louisiana. Crews are starting to fan out now with the plans to see what they can see now that the system has moved into Mississippi, and they can have daylight to help get them a good scope of the damage. After Ida toppled one of Entergy's large towers for high voltage transmission lines, the utility today is checking to to see if they can get more juice flowing into the metro area without having to reconstruct that tower along the Mississippi River.
Right now we have our teams looking at alternate paths, alternate routes.
Entergy New Orleans CEO Danielle Rodriguez tells WWL TV that they don't know if they can do that or how long it will take. They're just now getting a damage assessment of the system. That tower that fell into the river brought 8 feeder lines with it. Search and rescue can start to ramp up today dramatically. We know droves of people called for help during the height of the storm from the coast to the North Shore and many communities in between, but they were told it was unsafe to send someone to their rescue.
Hurricane Ida made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane near Port Fourchon, and now it's a tropical storm in southwestern Mississippi, but it left a path of destruction across southeast Louisiana. State climatologist Barry Keim says it wasn't until the center of Ida reached Mississippi that it lost its hurricane status.
It's a very slow-moving storm, so as the storm is moving on shore, and even after part of the eye wall has crossed shore to signify landfall, a significant chunk of that storm is still over water, still able to feed off of that incredibly warm water source.
Once the sun comes up, water rescues will take place. There are reports of hundreds of people stranded in lower Jefferson Parish. In St. Charles Parish, families are in their attic to get away from floodwaters in Laplace. There are reports of roofs torn off of Ochsner hospitals in Houma and Raceland. Patients there will have to be evacuated to other facilities.
WWL's Jeff Palermo and those rescue efforts have begun in Lower Lafitte to get about 150 people who did not evacuate to safety after water topped a surge levee down in Lafitte. Stay home. That's the demand from New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell.
So this is the time to continue to remain in your safe places, not a time to venture out throughout our city at all. It's unsafe.
Jefferson Parish has announced a curfew for today. President Cynthia Lee Shang says no one can be out from now until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Meanwhile, she says Ida had some serious stamina.
We took a beating for so long. When you think that our parish got landfall in Grand Isle around 11 yesterday. Last night, I stepped out. I'm at the Emergency Operations Center. The winds were just incredible still late into the evening. We just took a battering for so long. Some structures were standing for a while, and then they just weakened. I mean, you just can't take it for that period of time.
Reports of flooding have come in flooding in St. John and Livingston Parish was also a problem overnight. Tangipahoa saw surging water as well. WWL's Tom Peromian tells us officials are trying to assess that damage today.
Tangipahoa Parish President Robbie Miller spoke with WWL about the need for first responders to move into action.
There's no doubt our first responders want to get out to help you. Let them get out. Let them start going to evaluate. Let our public works folks get out to start clearing roads. So just take care of your space at your home. We're going to get there as quick as we can. We have some folks that are trapped in houses, like in bathrooms, and I don't know what their situation is now. We need to get to them to make sure that they're as safe as they can be.
Miller was pleased that residents were continuing to shelter in place and that roads were without sightseers.
And this just in, the first trucks, high water vehicles of people being rescued from Lower Lafitte have now arrived at the site where they're putting them on buses and taking them to safety. St. Tammany Parish President Mike Cooper says his first responders are starting their day making roads passable.
We want to be able to open up the roadways so our first responders and our utility contractors could be the first ones out getting to the jobs that they need